Welcome to Saturday's Warrior for our Saturday's Night Live segment where we recap and react to the games. And tonight we have quite a game to react to. BYU under the lights, really taking it to Kansas State in basically every way imaginable in every facet. And it was just a wild, wild night. Very satisfying. And Adam, how are you feeling right now? It is now almost 2 a.m., but you don't look tired.
No, somehow I'm not. You got to get a pregame nap in for those late games. But man, I am the adrenaline's pumping. I'm not sleeping right now. That was insane.
It was yeah. I'm still like trying to process the whole thing. It was completely unanticipated. I mean, and like the commentators were saying, and everything, like it was just a complete game. I mean, we had a special teams. We scored on defense. We had the turnovers. We were everything, and it really allowed us. Well, let's go back. Actually, let's go back to the beginning of the game because it was amazing how quickly the first two quarters went by. Which because I
Yeah.
think it was just so much running. I mean, I don't know if it just felt like it was faster, if it really did
No, it was fast.
in
It was
real
fast.
time.
Yeah.
And it just felt like because Kansas State had only had I think a couple of possessions, as we were winding down that
Mhm.
that first half. But even though the score was only 6-3, it still felt like they were in command of the game. And you felt like, okay, our defense is going to start wearing down. And eventually this run game is just going to start breaking loose.
Yeah, that was the K-State game plan, which was smart. I
Yeah.
think they had the physicality and the athleticism to do it. They were executing it. Things were really going their way, and it took the fumble and the scoop and score to really change the fortunes there. And it just seemed like K-State got rattled. That's not their game. They don't have a lot of turnovers. I think that the announcer said that was the second fumble lost for Giddens in his career. I mean, they don't turn over the ball. They play smart, good, well executed football. And I think given the environment on the road like that in a night game, they just got rattled. And then you saw Avery Johnson come out, a little shaky, throws the pick, and we never look back. It was
Yeah.
wild.
And in addition to that, I think I saw like I don't know how many games he played. I think it said over 11 games that Johnson had only thrown one interception before then. So along with the turnovers just uncharacteristic.
Mhm.
What was characteristic was I mean they were racking up yards on the ground, and I don't know. There was a few times I don't know why they were turning to the pass. I don't because their run game was effective.
Their run game was
Little
gouging.
shook, and they kind of turned to it a couple times. I don't know what they saw, if there were, if there was a reason or what they saw that we didn't see when they were calling those plays. But I just felt like, run it, and those interceptions don't happen, and they're likely able to kind of keep moving that ball down the field. I mean, obviously they had to throw it at some point, but yeah, it was up until that very end of that first half, it really felt like even though the score was close, Kansas State was playing the game they wanted, and our defense was holding up. But you felt like it was just a matter of time before
Yeah.
end of the dam broke because they were just really coming at us hard. But those plays right there, I mean, it was just unreal. I've never seen anything like that, and especially
The end of the half was crazy. It was. And I gotta say, it's props to the offense. The defense is carrying this team and will throughout the whole season. We'll go as far as the defense takes us. But the offense responded in two important ways. One, they went aggressive and they capitalized on those turnovers. So it was points off of turnovers. It wasn't just us sort of taking a field goal. We were aggressive. Retzlaff had some great throws. And then Retzlaff played smart. He took care of the football. His stat line is not jaw dropping, 150 yards passing, 15 to 21. But not even any turnover worthy throws in this game. You saw him take a couple sacks he didn't want to take. He was almost loading up to throw when he was getting sacked, and you could just see the sort of training I think that's been grilled in, where he pulled the ball down at the last second, he'd take the sack, and just some really smart plays there by Retzlaff, and the offense played smart and then took their shots. They got the momentum. we can talk later about the run game and Moa, some amazing stuff. But I think that's what really turned the tide is you let the defense cook, and then on offense, you took your shots without risking that ball security.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to turn to comments here. We've got 1-2 who says, "I disagree. Our defense was awesome the entire game, even in the first quarter." I don't think that's what we were saying. Our defense was great. I mean, they were not breaking. They kept, Kansas State got right, into the red zone and prime scoring position twice and had to settle for field goals. And so our defense was doing what our defense does. I'm just saying, from what I saw, it felt like, if this was the entire game and our offense wasn't able to get a sustained drive, that wasn't going to be sustainable.
Well, you saw the cramps throughout the second half,
Yeah.
and so I think you do wonder. That's K-State's brand of football is just grind you down, and they played that through 2 quarters almost completely. And so, yeah, I agree. Our defense played inspired the whole time. The worry was how long can you keep that up? And if this goes into the second half like that, you worry about them being able to keep it up. But yeah, I think they played great the whole game. To keep K-State out of the end zone, unbelievable. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, well, I was just gonna. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish up.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in terms of the cramping, man, they need to ask Bronco Mendenhall about the pickle juice and see.
Yeah, exactly. But you saw SMU puts up 66 points on TCU. BYU doesn't allow a touchdown against SMU. BYU allows one real touchdown against Wyoming. They got a garbage time touchdown against our third string. So one touchdown against Wyoming and no touchdowns against K-State. I mean, it's shocking the way this defense is playing. It's absolutely shocking. You feel like you hope you stay healthy because it feels like they got the depth and the continuity to be something special this year.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, in addition to that, SIU, I mean, they scored a touchdown, but it was off of a play where after that reception, that was a bad call. That probably shouldn't have been a reception.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But anyway, yeah, the defense has been locked down and really carrying this team. But like you said, because the defense is so solid, it is allowing the offense to then get settled. Like, they're not carrying the burden because that. And last year, I mean, the defense couldn't get off the field and they were just wearing down. But this year, they are holding up a lot better. And that's the other thing. Maybe that was the advantage to earlier in the season. So many people were, in the rotation, that they've built up this rotation that if they need to, in games where you're getting worn down, or and the opposing team's pounding it on you, then you have those bodies and you guys have guys and experience out there. I do have a few comments I want to get to here. So we kind of mentioned this 1-2 again. Retzlaff was surprisingly improved. I only recall one risky-ish throw. One, probably one or two. Sorry, I didn't mean to take that off. I mean, it's funny because he took a couple of those sacks and they're saying, oh, he's just got to get rid of it. But I think BYU fans are just saying, at least he didn't try to dump it off and make a risky throw.
And he had a big 12-yard sack where I think he pulled it up to get rid of it out of bounds, but that's got to go past the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And you almost see him load up and then just take the sack. And I thought the same thing. I agree with you. That's a step forward. Let's just take the sack. No turnover worthy plays.
Right. So that was a step in the right direction. So he's doing what we wanted. And so, yeah, and he had some very good throws. I mean, like was it the touchdown right at the end of the half that he threw to Chase Roberts?
Oh my goodness. It threw such a tight window. He threaded that needle. That was an amazing throw. And that's the thing you like about Retzlaff is he's making those plays. And I don't think Gary Bohannon can make those plays. I don't think many QBs in the country can make that play. And he can. And so where BYU said, all right, we're going to ride with the turnovers. We're going to help him learn. We're going to help him grow. And maybe he can, right? Maybe this game shows he can. I still think he's going to have those games where we're like, oh my goodness, the turnovers. But it's what you get out of him. You get these amazing, amazing throws like that touchdown pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that point is they were aggressive after those turnovers. So Riker Wright says the streak of no passing touchdowns allowed continues for BYU's defense. Yeah, absolutely. That is just incredible. And you pointed out what SMU did to TCU today. And to think that we only held them, this we did the same thing. They would get into the red zone, but we would just hold them there. And so our red zone defense is just phenomenal.
It is, and in the secondary. I mean, this speaks to the secondary. I know we're getting to the quarterback with the front seven, and I really like that. Not only the sacks, the hurries, and so that's making it difficult on quarterbacks. But even when they do have time, they're having a hard time finding open receivers. And you watch quarterbacks the last couple of games towards the end of the game, they're really pushing it. And I think they threw one into the end zone that was really well covered, and the quarterbacks are trying to force the issue, but we are step for step with these guys. And we have a secondary unlike we've had in, 30 years since 96. I mean, you just don't see secondary play like this from BYU. And what Guilford has done with the corners and Hill with the safeties has been so cool to watch.
You're talking about the one shot at the end zone. I think it's the same one. And it looked like, the way he had the ball placed, it was actually pretty well thrown, but the defender just couldn't quite get there. The Kansas State guy, he was a little bit behind the defender. He had a step, but he just couldn't get to that ball. But it was a pretty well thrown ball, but it's forcing teams to make those incredible plays.
You have to throw the perfect ball to score there. You have to, and your wide receiver or your tight end has to make the perfect catch. That's all you can ask. And really, at some point, BYU's defense is going to give up a passing touchdown. It's going to happen. It's college football in 2024. If the rules favor the receiver, it'll happen. But if you're forcing teams to do that, and that's the only way they can score, awesome. There's not going to be many of them.
Well, and that was the game plan, right? To force K-State to go through the air and try to score that way. And so that plays the favor. So we got some other comments. We talked about them, but I love this. Let's focus a little more on special teams here from Zach Christensen. How about special teams scoring 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's unbelievable. Have we ever had a back-to-back kick return, punt return? Since James Dye, not to harken back to 96 too often. But man, special teams has been special. It's and off of the muff putt, I feel like that's going to come back and get us. Kingston will catch the ball when he's running backward, almost like a wide receiver that he is, right? He's trying to run a route and catch the ball, and it scares me because he's dropped. It feels like 3 of them so far this season. I feel like that's going to come back and bite us at some point. But to pull that off, and they call it a 90-yard punt return, that was, by the time he scooped it up, a 97-yard punt return, and the total run distance had to be almost 150 yards. They showed him throwing up on the sideline afterwards, going to the locker room, probably get an IV. What a run! What an effort!
Yes, yeah. And what I want to look at this here. Let's see if I can. Oops, that was too far in. Okay, so to your point, I say no. Don't stop bringing up 1996. Let's talk about it because it says BYU has scored, and this is from BYU Game Notes on Twitter. He says BYU has scored touchdowns on offense, defense, and special teams tonight. It is the first time the Cougars have done that since 1996 at Utah State when Muirbrook. I should probably know that name, but
You should know that one. Come on, the captain.
I was a wee lad. Had a 45-yard fumble return for a touchdown. James Dye had a 79-yard punt return touchdown, and the offense scored 3 touchdowns. So, just going back to 1996, it was just an unreal performance there. So
that 96 year was the year I really became a fan. I was pen pals with James Dye.
Oh, yeah.
And he met me outside Cougar Stadium, and we got to hang out for a little bit. He was the coolest guy. All-time favorite player.
Let's go to Anonymous Cards. And it says, I think our defense was boring man-to-man all night against Wyoming so that they could prepare for 2 weeks against K-State. It showed. Yeah, I think we kind of knew that they knew that they could go into Wyoming and play a little bit more vanilla defense, not show anything and play them straight up. And they did. And it worked. And it allowed them to kind of not have to show too much. And, I like to think we got up by enough tonight that perhaps we didn't have to show everything put everything on film either for K-State, although it would have been worth it just to get the win. But
yeah, you're in conference play. You show your cards now, but I think BYU played the preseason so well this year, where they really played some clearly vanilla defense and offense against SIU and Wyoming, and then open up the defensive playbook against SMU, who clearly weren't prepared for what we threw at them, and then did the same thing against K-State tonight. And I think that shift when they had those first two drives, Hans Olsen was talking about this during the game. We weren't showing a lot of blitzes. We weren't showing a lot of different looks. It was straight up play through almost two quarters. And then things shifted on the fumble return. We started throwing more blitzes, different looks. The interception to Batty came off of a corner blitz off the edge that made Johnson throw that ball early and uncomfortable as he was getting hit. So the game really shifted after we started to change our looks on defense and take a little bit more command. And that's why it feels like we're going to go as far as the defense takes us, because it just feels like they dictate so much in the game.
One thing I want to point out on defense before we move on is Taggart finally got an interception after two dropped balls. He finally got his interception.
So. This one was a tougher catch too. It didn't hit him in the numbers. He had to go up for it, and he did. He looked good. It was a good catch. Got some return yardage.
I'd love to see what they're doing scheme-wise to put him in the position to get those interceptions. Be able to see the whole film or the whole field and see a breakdown of how he's doing that, because 3 times is not an accident. There's something
true, and he's good there because he's so fast. I think he's probably our fastest linebacker, and so to have him in coverage is a little bit more effective back there. The way he can move, and he just seems to be in the right place at the right time.
All right, Justin Bingham. BYU. Yeah, absolutely. And follows it up with Retzlaff just might win the Heisman if he keeps playing well, and all he does is win. I mean, if BYU goes undefeated, maybe he's in the conversation. I think it would take quite a season for him to.
No, he's still not in the conversation. But I do think he builds for next year if he keeps playing well. Because to me, the big question coming into a game like this is, can Retzlaff improve, or he is what he is, right? That's kind of what you hear from a lot of Cougar fans, where they're split, where they're like, he is what he is, and the rest is like, no, ride with him. If he continues to improve and he can take steps forward, he really sets himself up for a big year, because obviously the talent is there. And so if the game starts to slow down for him and he starts to make those really, really good decisions and knows when to take the shots, well, then he does have a chance to take that step and be something special.
Yeah. How about Jack Kelly for Heisman? Maybe.
Yeah, they give it to the BYU defense.
Yeah, defense deserves it. But sticking with Retzlaff here, let's see. Neil Jones says, I've been defending Retzlaff and our OC for a few weeks now. They deserve credit. Good game by the offense, not producing turnovers. Not producing turnovers, and superb work by the defense and special teams. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think they do deserve some credit. I think we've seen improvement each week from Jake Retzlaff. And I think we've seen the play calling. We've seen we've seen them adapt a little bit to, who they have available for the game plan. I mean, yes, they had Miles Davis in probably the wrong role, but they added a little more QB run and they've adjusted things. And like you pointed out, they were aggressive after the turnovers tonight. So all in all, I mean, I'm sure there's still going to be some gripes with certain play calls, but when you're winning like that, I don't know if there's much room to complain after a game like that.
Yeah, to me, the real star on the offense of this game was the offensive line, because you got your third and fourth string running backs in there, and they were running pretty solid. Mo had a 5-yard average, and Nawahina had a 5-yard average. I mean, that's good stuff. That offensive line was really moving the K-State D line after getting not much room over the first quarter and a half. they dug in deep, and the run scheme started to open up and seemed to start to make sense for the offense for the first time in quite a while. I mean, you've seen some progress there, but I felt like through the first 3 games we saw more progress in the passing game than the run game, and it started to click. And when you built a 3-score lead and you need to run it to sustain that, BYU was able to do it.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that that Moa got the start, because after the last game, everyone wanted Huanga, but
Yeah.
uh,
Which I was nearly screaming at the TV when Mo was playing in the first quarter. I'm like, where's Haunga? We need him. And boy, that touchdown run by Mo at the end just sort of sealed it. It sort of validated that start. That was incredible. He broke 6 tackles on the run, and just mowing people down. No pun intended. He was a force, and that was cool to see. To think we got somebody there sitting third string, who seemed to really have a good feel for the offense. And Haunga just seems like a more exciting player to me. He's less downfield running. He'd be fun to watch, but Mo was impressive.
yeah, yeah. Oh, he definitely showed that he belonged, and it just makes makes you feel like, after we were expressing all of our concerns about the depth of the running back room, especially with LJ Martin down, this year another freshman comes in and shows, and it looks like we've got actually a couple freshmen we feel pretty good about. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel very positive about that in the future at running back there. All right, Cougar Tail says, what an amazing game, go Cougars. Absolutely. It was just unreal. I mean, the fact that it got almost boring, partway through the third quarter against a top 15 team in the country, it was just unreal. All right, it's late. I take the contacts out. I get my glasses on at night. I need some blue frames because it's blue goggle time.
Yeah.
So let's look here. 1-2 says 4-0 ranked bowling. I can't wait to see the bowl, or the score, or not score, I guess record, the predictions for BYU coming after this in these subsequent matchups. And obviously, I think BYU's got to be considered I would be surprised if we're not ranked this next week.
I think so. With such a dominant win, I thought with a K-State victory, we would not be, or sorry, beating K-State, we would not be ranked. We'd be knocking on the door, and that still may be the case. But this was a dominant win. It's super late, so I don't know if enough people will see it. They'll see the final score, and maybe that's all you need in
They'll
this
see
one.
that Parker Kingston return.
Yes, they will. Yeah, that'll be playing on SportsCenter Top 10 for a while. But hopefully it's enough. Hopefully it's enough. I didn't think we would be ranked, because I figured if we beat K-State, it'd be on a close game, going into overtime, something like that. But a dominant win over the 13th ranked team in the country, that's got to get us there.
Yeah, I hope so. And I mean, now we're just looking at, before that first bye week game against Baylor, who will be reeling after a crazy game and crazy loss to Colorado tonight. So
I don't know if that helps or hurts us, to be honest. You could be playing a desperate team down there, and that kind of like when USC walked into Michigan. Michigan was just desperate for a win, and I feel like that's what we're walking into with Baylor. They're a decent team. They got a good defense. They're not pushovers, despite them being a 1-3 team. They're a good ball club. They're gonna be desperate for a win, and we're playing them at their house. So
we could be coming down from a big high too. So
I know. It does feel like a trap game, big time. So we'll see. I don't know if I like us in that game or not, but
I will say, though, I mean, let's not talk about us losing on a night like this. Let's enjoy the win. But even going into that bye week at 4-1, we'd still be ahead of schedule from where we were expected to be, and still sitting in a very good position to, just make a bowl game, but on top of that, win several games in conference, and really improve upon that 6-6 or 7-5 record that even I would say, like, the very optimistic BYU fans were saying. And so absolutely, I think we do. I think some of and I wasn't following too closely, watching a who won, who lost, but I saw somebody else, a Boise State fan, on Twitter, saying, "Oh, all the right teams are losing." This is such a good, because as a Boise State fan wanting to move up the rankings, and they had some votes last week. And so I assume that's also a good sign for BYU after a very convincing win over K-State. So I would hope so. And then to follow up with 1-2, he says only 4 undefeated teams left in the Big 12. And I wonder how many in the nation at this point. I know there's at least one fewer in Kansas State. So Big 12. And we knew this. And this is what's so fun about being in this conference and being in a conference at all is that is the jockeying for position within that conference. It's not kind of all or nothing. You know, your season's lost after 1 or definitely 2 losses that you have so much to play for. So this is going to be a very fun conference. It's fun that it feels like BYU's in position right now. I don't want to get ahead of us, but to be kind of this year's version of West Virginia, what they did last year, being the ranked really low and coming in and causing some havoc in the conference. So, I mean, we already have caused some havoc, but it'll be interesting. There's still a lot of football to play. And as you said, the next game could be very difficult. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but we can definitely enjoy this win. And I say it's okay. Put the blue goggles on for a night and
that's right.
Enjoy what can be. So, so Sam, you may have missed. We did kind of touch upon this. Yeah, the cramping in the second half is concerning. That really does when it's that much on, especially when it's one-sided. It would be one thing if this was like in Florida at 12 o'clock and both teams were cramping up or something. But when it's one team and it's at night, especially the home team, that is a little concerning. So,
I mean, we came out amped, playing a big game, really left it all out on the field, and so I think that's part of it. But yeah, prehydration or they've got some pretty advanced science going into that. They've got to address that. And if it becomes consistent throughout the season, it's concerning. The fact that it happens on a night like this, I could see it, but it's got to stop. I mean, that's something you can take care of pregame.
Yeah, absolutely. Elaine G. Urban says, wide awake in the Eastern time zone. What a game. Yeah, absolutely. We're both Eastern time zone and still awake. Probably should think about going to bed at some point, especially with the early church meetings ahead of us. But at this point, who cares? I couldn't sleep even if I went to bed. So keep the comments coming. Adam, if you have to slip away at any point, I completely understand.
I'll be slipping away here in just a couple minutes, but
Charles Todd Barnum says they feed off of LES energy. Yeah, it is unreal. So I was at the 59-0 beatdown of UCLA, and that was fun.
Yeah,
that was fun. It was. I mean, it was loud. It was crazy. It was a ton of fun. I don't think that was anything compared to what was going on at LES tonight.
Yeah, I was texting with my cousin, and I got another buddy in the stadium, and both of them just said it was amazing. And BYU has just come such a long way. I think I remember getting season tickets back in the 2007 season. And like I said, it was so cool to be in the stadium. I mean, growing up, I went a bunch of times and I love being there, but what they have now is just in stadium atmosphere and what they've done with the lights and the fourth quarter prep and the pregame celebrations and coming onto the field, all that just creates a huge experience. And then BYU was 64,000 plus, biggest stadium in the Big 12, and they're packing that house. And I think opposing teams come in and they're just not used to 65,000 people. I mean, you don't have many venues in the country nowadays that are bigger than that. Obviously, you get the big ones in Michigan and Rocky Top in Tennessee, but outside of those massive venues, you don't get stadiums this big. And I obviously it's taking teams by surprise because we've had advantages with Baylor and with K-State and Utah and teams that have come in there recently that just have not been able to compete with the atmosphere. The crowd has factored into it big time.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody was at tonight's game and at one of those other games, we talk about Arizona State or the Utah or Baylor, let me know and how all those games compared to each other, because from at home and listening to the commentators and everything I've seen, they're just lit. But I have no idea. I mean, tonight seemed just wild, especially once they got rolling with those turnovers. In
Yeah.
fact, that was one thing I was thinking is like, too bad these turnovers came at the end of the half. Like it was great going into the next half with 11-point cushion, but I was like, is the crowd going to lose energy over halftime or, what? And then we just kind of, and I was even wondering, I was, on some text threads and things, and like, is this sustainable though? Like, it's great to have that cushion, but we were somewhat fortunate. I mean, we caused the turnovers, but Kansas State isn't just going to give those away again. And so I was like, can we, sustain this energy and everything? And the answer was yes. We could. It was incredible. So unreal. We did talk about this, but Zach Christensen, so far no touchdowns from Power 5 play. I don't expect this to continue forever, but let's keep it going. Yeah, exactly. Let's keep it going.
Yep, it's been amazing. Trevor, I'm gonna tap out. It's late. Awesome victory by the Cougs. Shout out to my mom who texted me and said she's watching. My mom's awesome, so she's a fan now. Discovered the podcast, and but man, what a night for BYU. Stay up and relish it, Trevor. This is one for the books, man. This was fun.
One last one right here. Sam says the lawn mower.
Yes. That's awesome.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, Adam, for joining. And actually, I should probably cut out too. You can go ahead.
Go Cougs.
So if you are as amped as I am after this BYU win, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. As you saw, Adam was just on. Every week we do a recap of the game. We do kind of a look ahead, do our picks and everything, so you can catch those. We kind of get that out Monday, Tuesdays, and then prior to the upcoming matchup, I always have a guest on, someone from the opposing fan base, YouTube, podcast, whoever, someone from the media come on, and we get to do a breakdown of our opponent. And so you can catch all those, kind of a know the foe segment. And then, of course, we do these live segments and reactions, as well as all the other content we do throughout the week. So please do like and subscribe. And thank you all for joining in the conversation here. I read out a few more real quick. We've got Cougar Tracks. Congratulations, BYU. Absolutely. And then, no, thank you, Cougar Tracks. And then let's see, we got another one from 1-2. Do you think that the 4th down K-State touchdown penalty should have been turnover on downs? Yes. And we didn't even get into that because at this point it didn't seem relevant, at least in my mind. But ended up being a kind of non-issue. Yeah, it was a turnover on downs. And, you could argue that potentially K-State comes away with only 6 points, although BYU would have been backed up in the end zone. And then you're, depending on what happens, you could be backed up doing a punt from short distance. They'd have great field position. So you can't really predict how everything would have turned out after that. But certainly, I think his toe is on the line. I guess I see where those refs are coming from. What was it? Completely indisputable? I don't know. I think it was, but at the end of the day, ended up being a non-issue. So I wasn't going to fuss about it too much, but it does seem like BYU over, and I guess every team comes away from every game complaining about the calls, but it seems like there've been some significant calls going against BYU each week. Fortunately, it hasn't come back to bite us at this point, but bad call, but I'd rather at this point focus on the win. So again, thank you everybody for joining the conversation. Hopefully everyone can get to sleep at some point tonight and enjoy the win. Put on those blue goggles and let's just enjoy it while it's here. I'm not saying it won't continue to be here, but just enjoy the win. And as always, go Cougs.